Good morning, my little gender-neutral potato chips. How are you? It's really nice to see you. I've got a lovely video for you today, and you'll have seen in the title. To me, this is the future of detent knives. They have to be at least this good to count in my eyes, because this is an amazing offering of a detent slip joint that brings the joy of a slip joint to me, which I really, I'm just suckered in a minute, but just the joy of carrying a slip joint doesn't take me back to the 1930s, but it does make me feel, to me, it's a man's tool. I know that sounds silly because you've got 6-inch Bowie knives now that people are carrying about, but to me, this is just what the every man should have in his pocket, a wee slip joint. And sometimes a small locking one, that's fine. I don't mind that at all. But I just think the act of carrying a slip joint. Now, I like the older slip joints, but if you know my channel, I like a bit of everything, and that's the joy of it. This is just a wee bit different, but this for me functions every bit as good as a traditional knife, and I think I've got the facts to prove that in this video. And I'm looking forward to showing it to you. First of all, I just want to mention this case that it comes with. Now, sorry, I should have said out loud in case somebody hadn't. This is the Tuya knife. Dave Warren sent this to me to review, all the way from America, over to the wee Emerald Isle to review. And I really genuinely thank him for that. He asked for nothing. He just said, please review it. Say what you think of it. There was nothing. And I just really appreciate that when somebody is, well, Dave's obviously proud of this, and he has every right to be. Now, to get this into production is no mean feat. We all know that. But to go ahead and have just the bravery sometimes, I think, smaller knife dealers have to use. It is bravery. It's their own money they're putting into it. So this, to me, warrants everything that Dave has put in it. I just love it, and I hope you love it as well as I do. And if you get it, please let me know so that I can give your feedback, or Dave can read your feedback on our channel. This is the Tuya knife M.A.S, and it's the M.A.S stands for Martin Anagarn Street Legal. Street legal being it's that typical size that's legal everywhere in Europe, and then across in the States. I know some of the counties over there still have a legal requirement to have an under 3-inch blade. This covers all of them. And around the world where there's knife laws, there's not many places where this would not be legal to carry. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And that sort of goes with my love of a slip joint. It's legal to carry anyway. If you're going away on a holiday, you don't have to, if you've got enough slip joints, you don't have to worry about what knife you're taking. You just pick one of them and you're covered. So, enough of the waffle. This sheath is lovely. It's a clip sheath, which in themselves are not inexpensive. And this isn't a hard leather sheath. This is more of, I can show you down the side, this is more like a suede version. So it's very, very supple. Holds the knife in beautifully. There's a lovely little pinch grip there where you can get the knife out, and there's the knife. This is just completely, now it's a bit solid in the back where you have the clip, an extra part for the clip, but it's a real nice clip. Sits in my pocket lovely. When I need the knife, I just pull it out. The retention's too good. Now, maybe it'll loosen up, but the retention at the moment is too good for me to try and get my finger in. Well, I suppose I might do. I just don't. I just pull it out because I don't do knife fights. I don't need to have my knife out that quickly to do something. So I just take it out, put this in my pocket until I've finished it, and then put it back in again. So an excellent clip, and our pouch. I'm really, really, really pleased with that. So here's the knife. Now, does it look modern? Yeah, to a slip joint guy like me, it looks modern. Does it look too far beyond what a slip joint will look like? No, not at all. Not whatsoever. it's screwed construction. So the one thing you can do is take it away. Now, I have one fault with this whole knife. Not a fault. It's a nitpick because I felt as if I had to find something, and it's the screws. They stick out a bit much, and because they are torque screws, you can kind of feel them. It's a little bit rough. It's never going to damage your fingers or your pockets, but it's just one of them wee things. It just feels a wee bit where it could have been finished off, sunken in with flat heads or domed even. Not domed, but sunk down in so that they're not protruding. Now, here's my grill knife. Look at the side of it. Them screws are the pins in these are not flush. Does it make this a bad knife? No, it's my grill knife. It's just I couldn't fault it. Does it affect when I hold? No, but it is smooth, and that's the only nitpick I have got with this knife. And that's quite difficult for a knife reviewer to find something, or it should be if you're getting a good quality knife. This is not an inexpensive knife. It's about $170, €170, and there's nowhere in the UK that's actually selling these at the moment, although Dave's hoping to rectify that. And hopefully we've got somewhere that I can put Dave in contact with. So you're going to have to get it posted to the UK. Sorry, that's just the way it is. Is this knife worth it? Absolutely. If this is the type of knife you're looking for, it's really worth it. It's American Desert Ironwood handles. Now, I believe Dave Warren uses Best Tech a lot for his knives. Look, I'm going to bring that up. Look at that Desert Ironwood. Look how beautiful that is. This would remind me of a Best Tech knife because it's so well put together. The action, the fitment of all the materials. It's M390. So this is a high-end knife with M390. In my conclusion of something to add about M390 and this knife in particular. But this is just a high-end knife with a beautiful high-end American ironwood. Just stunning. The hafting on it is beautiful. And for those of you who maybe don't get the word hafting used an awful lot, it's when they meet all the materials up round the knife. So it's hafted, sand hafted, that it just sits perfectly and smoothly. Now, this is not a back spring. This is just a filler. Like you would get on your modern knives, you'll get a G10 or a metal filler. This is titanium. Again, it's fitting in with that price tag. It's a high-end knife, so you've got titanium, desert ironwood, and an action that is, this is a double detent. I hated double detent knives until I got this one. I have never had one that I liked. They were always too weak. They would close at the drop of a hat. You wouldn't even need to slip hard for it to close in your fingers. So I just didn't like them. This breaks that mold and breaks it exceedingly well. Really, really exceedingly well. This knife has, just look at that. Now, if you can't tell by now, but this is a hollow ground knife in here. Now listen to this opening. It's a half stop. It's quieter than it's on my traditional slip knives. A lot of them, not all of them. It's quieter than a lot. But listen to that. And listen to that for a break. I have to break that with the back of my hand, because if I'm here and I'm holding this knife, I cannot break that. Now, granted, I'm not a spring chicken, but I can't break that. The only way I can break it is go right to the very top and it just breaks. But it's got a half stop, and it's a good half stop. Now, that took everything to do that. That takes a really genuinely hard push. But when you open it, it's not hard to get it to here, but the second part of the detent really needs to break. So I would have absolutely no problem doing any job with this knife, because I have a lot of slip joints that don't have a back spring that's as tight as that. That really is, that's me pushing my whole arm to get that to break and to come up to a solid, and that is a solid. Now listen, that's not pretend, that's me hitting that, and that's not broke. just broke now. So it is a proper slip joint action with a double detent. It's the first one that I've ever had that's as good as this, by far. By far. Maybe there is some out there, I just haven't found them yet. But the fit and finish, there is no, and I mean no movement in that blade whatsoever. None. Not even a slight wiggle. Again, full marks. But look at that hollow ground blade. Just tell me that is not the most beautiful spear. It is just to die for. A hollow ground that is just thin behind the edge. And this is as thin as most of my slip joints. And I know we hear a lot of reviews on the modern knives, and I like that too, where you have very thin behind the edge. This is very thin behind the edge. This will slice, do whatever you like. Let me just show you a wee bit of... This is just a wee bit of receipt paper. This is out of the box. I haven't stropped or done anything. This just glides through. Absolutely glides through. You can barely hear it going through it. Barely hear it. Now, of course, I can do that and it'll just slip through it straight away. But I'm just trying to do it gently and softly. Do you see how sharp this comes out of the box on receipt paper? It's jumping off it at the end. So, let me just get that out of the way. So you'll have no problem with your cutting task with this knife whatsoever. And again, it's the under 3-inch bit. Overall, I think it's about 6 1/4. Yeah, it's about 6 1/4 inches long. It's a perfect little pocket knife. Do you have to use a slip? No, look at that half stop. I can't tell you how reassuring, because I have to break that. So hard to break. Opening is strong, closing is strong to here. The last part when it's broke, and then it doesn't snap. You just gently push it down. And that's the modern side of this knife, is that last little bit. Once you break the detent, it is smooth all the way down. Now, it locks in at the end there, as you can hear. Sucks it in. It's, again, I just stand to be corrected and corrected. That's the joy of this knife community. You'll get somebody like Dave Warren who'll take something, he'll find a maker. Now, Martin Anigarn, I'm no good with names. I think he's from the Netherlands. He has the custom version of this, and this is very close to his custom knife, which must be, much more expensive than this. But this is very close to it in all ways. I watched a video on Martin on YouTube. You can go and do that in his M.A.S knife. And it is very, very similar. So you're getting an amazing European who is very much respected in the knife community in Europe. Maybe those of you in the States, America, Canada, wherever you are, mightn't have heard of him. But I think you're going to hear more often, because if Dave gets with him again, I just think, and do you know what I think? This is crying out for a budget version, for something in maybe D2. Does it matter if it's Chinese D2? No, it doesn't matter at all. Get the cheapest D2. As look, we're used in the slip joint community to having 1095 as our top steel. I love that because I love the patination it gets. You have to look after it a wee bit. So what? It's your knife. You should look after your knife anyway. But you don't have to do a whole lot. You just have to put a bit of oil on it. That's all you have to do. Or not, and get a good patina. Patina is something you hear talked about a lot, where the knife will change. This is a high-end gentleman's knife, an office knife, a work knife. Put it in your suit, go to weddings. This will do anything. With M390, it'll cut for days. Weeks, probably in my case, weeks and weeks. But I think this is crying out for a budget version in maybe G10 in D2. I think that would be a huge seller. A huge seller as well. I'm hoping this is going to be a great seller, because it is something different. And I genuinely love all sorts of knives. But to get this out, it's got a hollow grind here, and it's taken very high up onto the spine of the knife. So when you're getting in, it's not just flat, you have the hollow. So pull it open. Absolutely lovely. And then that last bit is such a great... I just can't tell you how much that takes to break. It is, it's actually safer than a lot of my slip joints, because you have that last bit and then it goes. It's rock solid. Tell me how many slip joints or detent knives you can do. There, it's just broke. Yeah, and I know that was a bit of a noisy explanation, but you show me another detent knife that you can do that too. And this is not the only one. I have seen a couple of reviews, and I watched Martin's video, and he showed me these. This is just it's blowing my mind. I was all set to be a detent hater because every one I've had so far I haven't enjoyed. Well, not that I haven't enjoyed. I don't find one that I will want to pay money for. Would I want to pay money for this? Yes, I would. Genuinely, I would pay money for this. And if it comes out with a budget version, I will definitely buy it and put it as do a side-by-side comparison, because this in D2 and G10 or a cheaper desert iron is beautiful. And I'm not running this knife down saying that it's too dear. I don't think it is for the quality of the knife. You've got to pay the maker, you've got to pay to get it made, and you're using quality materials. It's not too dear. $170 is not too dear in my eyes for this knife. But I do think you could shave an awful lot of that off by going G10 and D2 and get it out to the masses. The masses will obviously enjoy this, will make them buy the dearer model. That's my view. Probably wrong. I've been wrong before. But I'm just a reviewer. I have no business acumen whatsoever other than I buy what I like. I like this and I would buy it. Beautifully finished knife. Dave, thank you so much for sending this over to me. This is a European knife. This is a classy European knife, which is suitable for anywhere in the world, for anybody who likes a slip joint, who wants just something that little bit different in their collection, who wants something that they wouldn't be afraid to use. And that's the only thing. This is so dear, I think it'll put a lot of people off using it to its advantage because it's so well ground, it's so well made, beautiful material. Now, I'm going to use it because I do use most of my knives anyway. Would I hard use this knife? Yeah. And I genuinely mean that. I'd go out and shave wood with it. Absolutely no problem whatsoever. The tiniest little niggle I have is these. Inside, it is beautifully done. It's all titanium. It's like you could do this with steel. You could do it with, G10. I don't think it would make it that much heavier. I don't even know what the weight is. Don't care. It's a little small pocket knife. This is light as a feather. You could go heavier and it wouldn't make a difference. I think this is genuinely the future of detent knives. If Dave can keep coming up with this sort of detent and yet change the styles or whatever if he wanted to, but I wouldn't. I would just get a budget version of this on the market as quick as I could before somebody else does, because it's good. It's just a beautiful knife that cuts, that has great materials, and just happens to be a detent knife. And that's what it is, just happens to be a detent knife. Let me give you some size comparisons. Before we go, some size. This is my little sack, the 93 mil. Is it 91 or 93? I never know. So there's a sack. The sack actually has, well, it doesn't have a bigger blade cutting surface, but it has a bigger tang. So it's about the same size, not that much different as a sack knife. Here's another modern knife. And this actually has a back spring, but it's a modern material knife. Yeah. That is, look, this is what I was trying to show you. I can bend that easy. I couldn't do it on that at all. These are, the modern ones tend to be, for me, just too weak. And if you use the knife right, it shouldn't close on you. But we all have accidents. This is one of the best ones out there. It's not a double detent, but it's a modern knife. And it's a little bit longer. A little bit longer. Now, that gives you a longer handle, but the thing that I didn't show you is you have this little forward choil. Now, that looks very small, and I'm going to put my finger on it as in a grip. Do you see that it keeps me away from that edge? Look at that. Now, my finger is on that, and I'm back up. Now, it's not on it fully, but my second finger is right behind it, so it just keeps it so secure, right? And I've got a 4-finger grip, medium, large hands, full 4-finger grip, not a problem whatsoever. Beautiful. So don't be worrying about it being too small, as long as you haven't got huge big mitts. you're absolutely fine. Here's a budget knife. There's the brother knife that's got a spear point. It has got a really good strong back spring. Again, it's a little bit bigger, but it doesn't have the forward choil that has. But this is a budget option. And that's where I think that knife should go. I'm going to put this to one of my favourite knives, and this is one of my favourite work knives. The pull to open this to full extension is the same as this. Now, this is an Arthur Wright. It's made by Ashley Harrison. This is his own design. I had this made for me. This has a beautiful thin behind the edge. It's the same thinness as this. This is in a dark wood. I'm not sure whether it's ebony or not. I really don't know the answer to that. I should do, but I don't. And I should have checked it up. This is in desert ironwood. These two knives are what I would call work knives. They are just the most perfect work knife. Now, the difference between that and this is maybe a cheaper hardwood. It's got 1095 or 01, whatever Ashley puts in his. And that's the thing. It doesn't really bother me because I know how to sharpen, I know how to strop. So whatever knife I've got, it doesn't really matter as long as it cuts. This is in D2. Or not D2, M390. I want it to be in D2 and G10. But if you even went to a cheaper wood like this, you could cut the price down on that knife. And I really genuinely, Dave, I love this knife. And I think it's worth every penny. I just think another option of a budget version with Chinese D2, doesn't matter. Stick D2, whatever in it, and a cheaper handle material, and get this out to the public at that £100 mark. And I think you'd be laughing. I think you'd be laughing because it's so good as a modern version of it's not a slip joint because it's a double detent. And that double detent, I mean, that is so firm there. I can't tell you. It really is firm. What can I say? I can say that, do you want to know something? This is one that I have no fear of recommending to anybody. Because if they're all at this fit and finish, and they seem to be, because I have went and watched a few videos, there doesn't seem to be any difference. This is your slip joint of the future, if you like. Slip joints will never be replaced. First of all, I'm going to say that. But this is a double detent or slip joint. You can call them whatever you want. To me, it doesn't lock, so it's a slip joint. But a very modern version, which I love. So, do I recommend it to you? Yeah. Sorry it was a long video, but I really feel this needed to be talked about. I just think this has changed my whole opinion. Dave, once again, thank you very much. Sorry to keep on going on about it, but there you go. I'm away. Martin Anagarn, you make a beautiful knife or a beautiful design. Well done to you. The Street Legal, the M.A.S. #1. Take care. Bye-bye.